That's right, Mike. News you might have missed. This week, we've got a story from A&A Magazine. Here's the headline. Study finds creative industries undervalue neurodivergent talent. Neurodivergent employees bring valuable skills that fuel creativity, but they face growing challenges that hamper their performance, a new study reveals. Unlocking Neurodiversity, a Creative Advantage, was conducted by Understood.org, which is a nonprofit supporting the 70 million people in the U.S. who have learning differences. The 4As, our longtime friends, and Havas. It found that 48% of people working in the creative industry identify as neurodivergent. However, stigma, neurotypical ways of working, and lack of flexibility get in the way of harnessing such talent, with roughly 33% of neurodivergent employees dissatisfied with their roles. Quote, neurodiversity can be a superpower for agency and creative industries, but only when it's authentically embraced and supported, says Nathan Friedman, co-president and CMO at Understood.org. Creativity, innovation, and complex problem solving are critical in today's efforts, and these are strengths of neurodivergent individuals. However, our study finds that current practices overvalue speed and real-time performance while undervaluing divergent thinking. Mike, what do you think?
Oh, lots of things ping-ponging around the old noggin right now. So immediately I'm reminded of a quote that is often mistakenly attributed to Albert Einstein. There's nothing out there that actually says he said this. But
I like how usually you have the quote, but you can't remember who said it. And in this instance, you know that it's often attributed
I know who
to
didn't
Albert
say it. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
We're making baby steps.
Nice little plot twist.
Yeah. Watch till season 5 when I actually correctly attribute somebody in our penultimate episode. Anyway, the quote is that everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its life thinking it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's 2025. I'm going to go ahead and say something maybe people think will be bold. I don't care what kind of company, what size it is, what vertical it is, what model you operate in. Nobody has an excuse to treat their employees in a cookie cutter manner in 2025. I don't care if you have 4 employees. I don't care if you have 400,000. I mean, I'm sorry, but at this point, it's laziness masked as responsibility.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's just what
I think that's actually a great way to say it. Laziness, unimaginativity, and masked as responsibility, like you said. Like, we all need to fit into this, on this grid in this way, and that's not how people are. We're pretty diverse, actually, as it turns out, both in who we are and how we think, how our brains work.
Absolutely. And it's like, the trade-off's only getting the best work out of your employees. That's the only thing that happens.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, not only is it, the right thing to do just as, an effective people manager to, compensate and understand people's different ways of working, but there's actually a ton of data that suggests that, having these individuals and catering to them actually spurs better business results. Check this out. According to a 2022 Deloitte study quoted in the report, creative teams with neurodivergent professionals in some roles can be 30% more productive than those without them.
My goodness.
30%.
Well, you know what? I have a theory as to why that is. And I've got somebody to back me up on this. I truly believe that creativity is connection of things that are not obvious. And somebody who happened to agree with me is Apple's Steve Jobs. Can I read this quote for you? Creativity is just connecting things. Thanks, Steve. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little bit guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while.
Yeah.
Now listen, there are a lot of things that neurotypical people can do that neurodivergent people struggle with. On the flip side of that, there are areas of connection and creativity. I mean, these are the studies that are being done on neurodivergent people, like the synapses and literal connective wiring in the brain operates a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So there is this white space of creative connections that neurotypical individuals are just not going to get to. It's a yin and a yang situation that is almost being ignored across the entire industry.
Yeah, Steve Jobs, I think he knows a thing or two
A little bit.
creativity.
About creativity?
Yeah,
I think
he knew
I'd
a thing
say
or two.
so.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, actually, because the story actually goes on to talk about this a little bit and really positions this as like a forward-looking talent issue. Like, if you're going to stay on the vanguard of bringing in the top talent into your organization, this is something you need to be thinking about. And so the story goes on to say, tapping the value that you're talking about with neurodivergent people and their ability to be more creative is key for marketers who are hiring a growing number of Gen Zers, with more than 50% of the cohort identifying as neurodivergent, according to a 2024 Harris poll of 2,088 U.S. adults ages 18 and over. Gen Zers are also significantly more likely than any other generation to say they have asked for workplace accommodations. In order for your organization to stay relevant and be able to compete for the top talent that's coming up, newsflash, if you're not aware of this already, you're going to need to hire people in Gen Z and Gen Alpha at some point as well. Like, just that's how time works. I don't know if you're aware of this, but that's literally how linear time works.
The inextricable forward movement of it.
In order to stay relevant and like be able to compete with talent, you're going to have to cater to these people in some way and make accommodations and get off of this like one size fits all roadmap that so many organizations have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually had a couple of conversations around this topic around the industry. And there's this idea of like Gen Z is entitled because they're asking for work accommodations. Do you really think that every single generation that came before Gen Z was like perfectly settled in and optimized in every job across every sector? Do you really think everybody was like, no, I have everything I need, I'm ready to thrive across every sector in every demographic region? Do you really think that's the case? Or maybe, do you remember this phrase, suck it up and deal?
Yeah.
Have the majority of your employees been sucking it up and dealing with things? And do you think that that's what optimum performance springs from?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, what's the cost of that to your business?
Yeah.
You know, if people are burnout, unhappy, all these things, it's going to affect the work. That's just a fact of life. You know, we're made of all the experiences that we are, all the ways that we think. And so if you are feeling these negative, you can't just like compartmentalize that and continue to be a super productive, super effective worker. It just doesn't happen. It's not realistic to think that it would.
No. And I'd like to throw one more thing out.
Please do.
Ryan, you and I have a privilege of speaking to a lot of people in a lot of situations around the marketing function.
Yeah.
I've had over 100, probably hundreds of conversations that have touched on inclusion. And what I've heard in the majority of them, probably 75% of those conversations, diversity of thought comes up.
Yeah.
Oh, diversity, well, it's not just about this. It's not just about the things you can see. It's diversity of thought. And yes, 100%. But how many people are using that as kind of an excuse to not deal with any kind of other type of diversity? This is the diversity of thought that you're all talking about, whether you know it or not.
Well, neurodivergence, disability, these things are often overlooked when you talk about inclusion. It starts with race, it starts with gender, and those things are important as well.
Absolutely.
But that's definitely a blind spot for the inclusivity movement is neurodivergence. Like I said, diversity of thought can be from the background, or it can just be about the way that your brain works. And there's an opportunity here for the businesses that get out ahead of this and really start to figure out ways to cater to these individuals and get the best out of them. They're going to be the businesses that win the future. I mean, that like we can see that now.
Yeah. And listen, let me just send this out to everybody who might be listening and like kind of rolling their eyes and be like, why should they get special treatment? I don't get special treatment. Consider that a me first mindset is not the one that's going to deliver you into a better future.